Chairman's Corner on the Dolphin platform. I'm Juan Zarate, Chairman and co-founder of FIN. Down in the historic financial district of New York, you see I'm right in front of the iconic bronze charging bull statue. We've been in a bull market for almost a decade. Let's hope it continues. As you know, Wall Street named by the Dutch settlers. This was once called New Amsterdam before it was sold to the British, now New York. 3 issues this time, and it's freezing, by the way, so we're going to be really quick. Big debate in Washington when President Trump threatened to designate Mexican drug cartels as terrorist organizations. That would have criminal implications, additional risk and sanctions for those potentially doing business with those cartels. It did raise the specter of U.S. military action, potentially targeting Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. That's been put on hold. President AMLO from Mexico asked President Trump to put that on hold. President Trump has done so, talking about further cooperation. One of our staff members told me that this was the premise, the start of this movie Sicario 2, where the designation of these drug cartels as terrorist organizations led then to the violence in the movie. I haven't seen the movie. I saw the first one, really violent, but in any event, something to watch. Second issue, Congress has been incredibly active on the sanctions front as we reach the end of 2019. In particular with the National Defense Authorization Act, plenty of sanctions tied to North Korea, issues focusing on synthetic opioids from China, and Russia sanctions. Interestingly and importantly, sanctions on shipping companies that are involved in the creation of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. This is the Russian pipeline under the Baltic Sea into Germany. This is causing great consternation in Germany, a rift between U.S. and Europe. Frankly, these aren't going to be very effective because Nord Stream 2 is almost done. This would sanction the shipping companies that were laying the pipe for the oil, and the Germans are just going to go forward with it. So I'm not sure what the effect will be, but it does signal that the U.S. Congress is focusing on these pipelines. Turk Stream as well is mentioned there, and it also focuses on evasion. Keep in mind, there's a DOSCA Russia sanctions bill trying to punish Russia and deter them from further election interference in the out years. Something to watch there is provisions around sovereign debt, LNG investment outside of Russia, and sanctions on those helping and facilitating corruption by Putin. The last issue, the California Consumer Privacy Act comes into effect in 2020, enforced starting in July of next year. Interesting to watch because this is the first real privacy act in the U.S. that takes on what is the European model, the GDPR model, of giving consumers the right to own and protect their own data. Basically, businesses of a certain size interacting with Californians, interacting with the California economy, now have to make sure that they are respecting consumers' data privacy rights. Consumers now have all sorts of rights to demand to know what's being done with their data, how it's being used, can't be sold, and they can't be discriminated against for that potential use. The reason I raise this is it raises interesting legal questions, not only about the extension of California law nationally and maybe even internationally, but it's also the question of how do the laws and privacy rights relate to other legal obligations. There are exceptions in the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, that allow for keeping data that's necessary to comply with other legal orders, like the Bank Secrecy Act. Knowing your customer is critical to managing risk, but how does that balance with the right to be forgotten or the right for an individual to have their data deleted by a company? We're going to see some clashes of those regimes in the future. That's something to watch. That's it from Chairman's Corner. It is freezing out here. I wish you a happy holiday, a happy new year. We're going to see you in 2020. Have a great year.